morning. Thank you for the organizers to invite Rwanda to share area experience on license implementation. As a background, Rwanda is located in the East African region. For those who are not familiar, the prevalence of HIV is 3% for the last 15 years. And currently, people who are living with HIV are around 230,000. So, I'm going to give a little bit background why Rwanda adopted implementation of recent HIV testing. The country is committed to achieve the global target of ending AIDS by 2030. Together with our partners, especially PEPFAR, we realized that HIV resistance testing is one of innovative approach that will help the country to do effective monitoring of HIV epidemic in Rwanda, but also it will help the Rwanda to adopt appropriate prevention intervention. So for resistance testing, the country adopted a phased implementation approach, and we have started with the 23 health facilities in Kigali. And one in Kigali because Kigali city is the capital city of Rwanda, and it bears majority of HIV infection in Rwanda, most the double of HIV prevalence compared to the average national prevalence. So with regard to implementation, we started with different approaches. The first one, as I said, we started with 20 health facilities in Kigali city. We started by doing the recent testing at the National Reference Lab. This was centralized, of course, as I said. And then the scale-up was decentralized out of Kigali, where we are using 8 viral load hubs. Another approach that we moved to is shifting from centralized distance testing to top-care testing. And this started once again with the initial phase of 23 health facility, as I said at the beginning. And now in those health facilities, they do immediate HIV resistance testing. And as presented initially, we are using visual reading instead of using reader machine. This graph is showing how the scale-up went because, as I said, the program started in October 2018, and the data is comparing the data we have between October 2018 up to May 2019. So the blue bars shows the count of the long-term infection that we have in the program, and the green bar show recent infection, and the red trend line is showing integration of recent testing in our routine HIV testing services. As you can see, the beginning was not easy because it requires the whole process of training and putting all logistics together. But from between February and March, you can see the number of tests, and the site has almost doubled. So this is the Rwanda map. Is showing how the long-term infection are distributed across the country. The red circles are showing recent cases, and gray circles are showing long-term infections. So you can see, as I said, Kigali is having the high burden of HIV infection in Rwanda, and can see also majority of our recent and long-term infection are concentrated in the city of Kigali. But interesting, we found that in some area of our southern province, western province, and northern province, also we have both recent and long-term infection. So we do deep analysis to understand how newly infected people, their status with regard to recents. And this graph shows recent testing status by age group. And you can see in dark blue bars is showing the count of long-term infection, and red bars show recent infection. In both cases, we can see that in the age category of 20 to 29 and 30 to 39 is where we have majority of our recent and long-term infection. Continuing with the detailed analysis, we can see that this graph shows a proportion of recent infection among newly diagnosed by age group, and we can see that young age is mostly affected. where we have majority of our recent infection, and to decline with the increasing of the age up to 4.1%. So this graph shows the proportion of recent among newly diagnosed by age band and by sex. Out of the total number of people tested, newly diagnosed in the age category of 15 to 24, we can see that the overall recent infection, we have 10.5%, but among women, we have 10.2%, and men, we have 12.5%. And we can follow for the other age category. This graph now is showing distribution of sex among newly diagnosed people living with HIV by recent testing. And now we are looking between long-term infection and recent infection. In general, we can see that females are much affected by HIV, and also the long-term and recent infection is consistent in male partners. Now looking on the distribution of age among newly diagnosed people living with HIV by recent status. By age category, we can see that among long-term infection and recent infection, majority of people who are affected and age category between 15 to 34. But when you look on the recent infection, we can see that young age between 15 to 24 have high proportion of recent infection. Now we are looking on the distribution of recent cases by age and gender. So we can see clearly that in blue bars are men and red bars are female. You can see that in the age category of 15 to 24, the proportion of female who have recent infection are almost 3 times compared to the counterpart male. But when we go to the old age, we can see that men have majority of recent infection compared to the women. Now we are looking on the proportion of recent infection by province, and out of the 5 provinces in the country, we can see that recent infection is common in all provinces, but we have high proportion in Kigali, as I said. But interestingly, this data showed us that we have high proportion in Southern province. And this we are investigating to understand what happened and which appropriate intervention that we can put in place to make sure that we are supporting this region to make sure that they have effective interventions. So another data that I want to share, we are having our laboratory information system, and we want to make sure that we trace the median turnaround time of recent testing. And as I said, we have our national reference lab, which is based in our capital city, Kigali, and we have other viral load hubs that are out of the Kigali. And we try to see what are the turnaround time, and it's somehow comparable, but less in Kigali National Reference Lab, because majority of sites in Kigali we have introduced point of care testing. So, and out of Kigali we have issue of logistics of self transportation. This can explain why there is that difference. Also, the system helped us to see when providers have checked in the system to see the results. So it notifies us that there is some additional days that provider take to consult results. So we are working on this part also to make sure that as soon the results are available in the system, providers can access them and then act accordingly. So what are the recent learnings from this initial phase? Integration of HIV recent testing and HIV testing is feasible in Rwanda, and acceptability increases with the program scale-up, as I presented in my slides. And as you have seen across the presentation, majority of people newly diagnosed have long-term infection. So even if I presented the recent testing, it is implemented as part of case-based surveillance in Rwanda. So we are going to strengthen active case finding strategy to make sure that people are identified as early as possible. And we focus more intervention program to those identified high risk groups. As a conclusion, we realized that recent infection disproportionately occur in young age, 15 to 24 and 24 to 34 years. Female in the age category of 15-24 are more affected. We realized that they have 3 times higher comparable to male in the age category. And together as a national program and partners, we are working to make sure that every prevention intervention are put in place. Thank you very much.